Yo, 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 what up, what up, what up? It's your girl V-Henny, man. You already know the vibes. Welcome to the Artistry, where we talk shit about music, entertainment, and the everyday struggles. And you know how we do, man. We always have a dope guest in the building. We have your own CEO of On the Radar radio personality, and the guy just hustles in itself. The people's champ. We got your boy, Gabe P.
Yes, sir.
I don't have a budget, you understand?
Shout out my sis V-Henny. If y'all don't know right now, I'm going to give her flowers real quick because she's been putting on for a lot of independent artists for a long time. And also, before everything that's going on with OTR, she has been putting money in people's pockets before everything started moving. So shout out to V for making sure that people eat out here, that people get their spotlight, and that people get their love. So I appreciate you for everything that you've done for me early on in my days before, we've all reached this new height of craziness.
No, for real, for real. And you know what? I appreciate that. Thank you. You know, sometimes I don't know how to take the flowers, so I'm just like, oh, Like,
I'm the same way. I don't know how to take the flowers. I'd be like, thanks, I think. You know what I'm saying?
But I appreciate that. And like me on the other end, like me personally, I look up to everything you're doing. It's super inspirational, and I'm proud of you, bro.
Thank you,
I'm
sis.
super proud of you. I see how much you work. You work your ass off, bro. Like,
what? Tell me about it. Tell me something I don't know.
So definitely, man, before we dive into anything, this toast is for you.
Cheers.
Cheers to you and all your accomplishments, let's do this. Oh, yeah. Oh,
mix it down with the water.
Yeah. Whew. Shit. I don't want to
be
be
professional.
I'm trying to stay. I don't want to continue, I don't want to be slurring. I hate when that happens, slurring and all
slurring
that stuff.
slurring it on the mic is not a good time. Like I'm still trying to remember what podcast I did. I feel like it might have just been an interview I did with one of my mans. I did like a 2-hour interview that's not out yet, or it might be out by this time. This is out, but I did a 2-hour interview with Roy from the Roy and Maul podcast.
Okay.
And Roy and I were drunk.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we were definitely. Me and Roy definitely had some tequila shots before that interview. But I tried. But that one wasn't that bad. But like I try not to drink too much while I work, even outside.
Okay.
Because I feel like I'm going to embarrass myself somehow. Or even when I'm drinking, I feel paranoid that I'm going to embarrass myself if I'm working and I'm outside.
Gotcha.
I don't know.
Do you do many podcasts or like interviews?
Yeah, I've done like other. I did Bootleg Kev. I'm trying to think what I did. Jay Hill.
Okay.
I've done The Streets Is Watching, which is DJ Dramas. Oh my God, I did some other ones too, but I'm blanking right now. I've done a few.
Yeah. Okay. Now and so like looking at I'm just like before OTR, bro.
Right.
Like learning who you are. I've worked with you for quite some time. So right. So I knew you went to school, and originally I thought you off the back went to school for journalism, right? But I learned that you went to school for business at first, and then from there you transitioned into journalism.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I want to know the transition of that, and at what point in your within this startup process can you say you developed that passion for journalism and radio?
I felt like I was always gonna do something in media. I just didn't know what. And marketing was kind of like my pops was in business, so like marketing when I went to St. John's, it just kind of seemed like the most simplistic thing to do, but also if you look at On the Radar, what I do for On the Radar is marketing too. So like I knew I always was good at it or would be good at it, especially when it comes to social media. So I kind of just went that route because I felt like that was kind of like the closest thing to what I was into and what I knew I could be good at in my future. But the reason why I didn't work out and the reason why I ended up switching majors was because like I was just not good at the business classes. Like I was really bad. It's not like I couldn't pay attention or things like that. Like I'd always gotten really good grades in school, but it was this one calculus class, like within the first month of being at St. John's. And also within the first month of St. John's, I like found the radio station and I got my own radio show like within a month. And I kind of found my community there at St. John's. And I took this calculus class. I remember me and my mans was in it. And we 1 month, we lasted like maybe even less than a month in that class. And it was like one quiz that they gave us and I had no idea what was going on. The teacher kept on being like, oh yeah, like y'all learned this in high school. I'm like, they ain't teach me none of this shit in high school, respectfully. So I'm taking this quiz, and I remember, like, at one point, I just got up. I was like, yo, I gave her the paper. I was like, I'm dropping this class. Like, I know I can do this. But so I went back to, like, my dean or my advisor, whatever they were called back then for the business school at Tobin at St. John's, and they pretty much were like, are you sure you want to do this? You're going to get a whole new set of advisors, da-da-da-da-da. It was like this older guy, like this whatever, and he was just like, there's not really a lot of money in communications and X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, look, man, like, I can't do this business shit. Like, it's just, I'll do the business minor. I have a business minor, but I'm like, the major, I'm like, bro, like, I'm not gonna last. Like, I know for a fact I will not last in this. So they switched my major that same semester, but I had to keep the classes that I already had. So I had like some other type of like, I had 2 business classes, and the 3 other classes were kind of like just basic like XYZ classes that you have to take at St. John's, like a history class, a theology class, and an English literature, something like that. And even the other business of economics, whatever that one was called, like I took that class, and I think I got a C- in that class that semester.
Oh,
like,
wow.
I was just not.
I mean, I get it. I took business.
Yeah.
So, and I didn't finish either.
Yeah.
And the one, and it's funny because I do it now. I applied, but accounting, I hated accounting. Like for me, it was accounting.
Yeah. It's funny because my pops is an accountant, and I did have to take accounting 1 and 2 for my business minor. And accounting 1, I breezed through, I think, if I'm not mistaken. I think I got like a B or something.
Okay.
I did pretty okay in that one. But then my dumb ass, I was like, I didn't want to take accounting 2. Like, they recommend you take accounting 1 and 2 back-to-back semesters because you retain the information. But I waited 2 years until my final year of college to take accounting 2 for my business minor. And it was at that point that I was already working, I think that semester I was working full-time at Power 105 already as a digital media manager. And I remember just going up to the professor. I'm like, look, bro, my pops is an accountant. He's already disappointed in me that I'm coming back to him with all these questions because I suck at this.
Right.
I'm like, I already have a full-time job.
Right.
I just need a C in this class. Like, I just want to graduate. I already have the full, and he's like, you already have a full-time job? Because like that's unheard of in college to really have like a full-time position before you even graduate college. You know what I'm saying? Like, I had a full-time position 8 months before I graduated.
So go ahead.
So basically he just gave me a C. He gave me a C. He gave me a C in the class, passed me, and he was just like, I wish you would apply yourself more. I said, bro, I have a job. like I'm the only person in this class of 30 people who doesn't have to look for a job out of college.
Right.
What do you mean apply myself? So I ended up passing that. I got my business minor and I graduated. But yeah, that's my experience as a business major at St. John's. Shout out St. John's though. Like, their business program is great. I just was not good at it.
Right. So then obviously in St. John's you started off in radio.
Yeah.
Did you develop that passion right there then, or like was it more later on, you would say?
I mean, I wouldn't say I ever really had a passion for radio like up front. I think like when I joined the radio station, like, obviously like I always loved listening to like Angie Martinez, like Funk Flex, and like Breakfast Club when I was young, but I never like had like a passion for it. Like, I never was like, oh, I want to do that, right? But then when I got to the radio station, like I said, I found that community and I found kind of like something that I really liked. And this was like before the era of podcasting was like a thing. Right. But like the radio shows there were kind of ran like podcasts, right? It was just a lot of mostly talking, but there would be music breaks in between. So I kind of like grew a love for that, and just like, I was always a talker. So kind of having that space to talk about whatever was on my mind and whatever I wanted to kind of like get into, like that for me was really cool. So I ended up just growing through that, and with the radio, it just kind of became a natural thing. Like, I had a few different radio shows when I was out there. I had a show called No Genre, which was kind of like literally no genre. It was like 3 people. We all had very different music tastes. I had a show called The Outlet, which was my own radio show where I just kind of played music and talked. I didn't really do nothing crazy. And then the last show I did was called, then I had some comic book show. It was called Hype Train. That's what it called. It was called Hype Train. That was one of my shows. And then that was just like a nerd podcast. And then the last show I did from time to time was this guy Sal's show. It's called like The Men's Room. It was just like a podcast with like 4 guys just talking shit. So I had like 4 or 5 radio shows off the rip in college too, which was crazy.
How did you get involved with Power then? How did that come about?
When I was like 19, I already had like a bunch of interviews under my belt at the radio station. Like, I was one of the youngest people kind of really, doing the interviews and whatnot. And they had asked me, Angie was coming on her book tour, Angie Martinez, and they're like, oh yeah, like, do you want to interview Angie? Because I'm like, yeah, I'm from New York. I grew up listening to her, this and that. I would love to. And they're like, and then they also asked me who I would like to be my co-interviewer. I was like Nyla, because Nyla was doing amazing things at the time with her show. I forgot what her show's name was, but she was doing amazing things with her show and those interviews. So I was like, okay, bet, let's do it, right? So we did the interview together, and we had both already applied for positions at iHeart. Like, I think I had like 4 or 5 applications denied already at that point. And then it kind of just played out where it's like they were like, oh, hey, like Angie wants to hire you as an intern. So we applied again.
That's dope.
Then we both got the internship. Nyla's a year older than me, so she was 20 when she got it. I was 19 when I got it. And then we started interning there. And I think this year made like 7 years of being at Power. So yeah,
Damn,
yeah. So
really?
I've been at Power for 7 years already.
Wow, that's a commitment.
Tell me
That's
about
a
it.
commitment.
Tell me about it. I got through the door. I got through the door, and I just never left. So yeah.
How was that learning lesson for? Because I feel like for me, that's a not a lesson, but that was a learning like situation for you working as an intern for and with Angie.
Right.
Like, what is it that you took? So, what would I want to know? Like, what is it that you took from working with her, being an intern, and you applied to who you are and to your platform now?
Sacrifices. Cause like even back then, like interning for Angie, like I was in there like 4 days a week, 4 days a week max sometimes. But like I was still going to school,
Okay.
and then I would still be going out and partying and doing the regular college stuff. But like I didn't get to do as much of the partying and regular college stuff as my peers,
Okay.
because I was already dedicating my time to iHeart and growing within there and kind of learning and just being a fly on the wall. Like that was a big sacrifice because it's like no one else is not no one else is doing it, but like everybody else is over here having fun, and then I'm here
Yeah, you're working.
working. I'm at, I'm with Angie in all these interviews, like with Idris Elba and all these other artists, just kind of being there, learning and watching and, working. And like, I got paid. So like, I was making money. You know what
Okay.
I'm saying? I mean, the interns, we got paid. I don't remember what it was, but it wasn't like a lot, but it was enough where it was like, I would go and I would make some bread. But like, I learned that like, sometimes you just got to sacrifice like the fun parts of your life sometimes to get where you really want to be in your career and your life. Because I feel like if I didn't make those sacrifices back then, I wouldn't have had that full-time job straight out of college, and then I wouldn't have been able to, understand the meaning of sacrifice in like my current day life. As a 27-year-old. Like there's some things that, whoops, sorry, I thought I turned my phone off. There's just some things that you got to do sometimes to make sure that you're able to go accomplish, and like a big part of that is sacrificing. Like even when it comes to On the Radar, like I sacrifice certain times, certain things out of my day, like to go do what I have to do. Like for the Drake thing, I had to call out of work that night for my Amazon show. I couldn't tell them I was doing the Drake stuff,
Okay.
but I had to sacrifice that show and that other job to be able to be there to do the Drake freestyle, right?
Right.
So it's a lot of like, give and take when it comes to the industry. I also learned that it's just like you really have to like learn the craft, and it's not always something that they could teach you in a schoolroom, which I think we all already knew that like off rip. But being there with Angie and just kind of like being a fly on the wall and learning and seeing how she moves and how she approaches interviewing and editing her audio and this and that. And even when I watch like the video editors editing her interviews, which is how I learned how to edit videos, all that stuff was just real hands-on experience. And I would say like there might have been like things that I took from college, might have been like over those 4 years, I feel like there might have been 3 to 5 classes, if that.
So you got more, obviously you got more being hands-on with Angie Martinez opposed to like school.
Right. But I'll never knock anybody for like, I'd still tell people go to school, because if I didn't go to St. John's,
You wouldn't be where you are.
I wouldn't have met Angie.
Right.
And I wouldn't have been at the station, and then I wouldn't have been able to build On the Radar. You know what I'm saying? So whenever people are like, oh, like I don't think people need to go to school, but like I tell people do it, because sometimes the stuff that the experiences that you get when you go to school actually do open a lot of doors for you that, it might take way more time and more years to open up if you try to do it on your own. Not saying that school's a cheat code either. It's just, I wouldn't have met Angie if I had just tried to do my own thing.
So do you feel like, so you're saying there's more relationships for your experience, there was more relationships that you was able to connect with outside, like if outside of being like, opposed to being independent in a sense.
Yeah.
Because independent, like I feel like being independent in itself, right? Not just an artist, just having your own platform in itself, like you really gotta be outside. It's who you really know.
In a way, yeah. I mean, like, and also with St. John's, like a lot of my peers all work in the industry too.
Okay.
Like there's at least 10 of us who all work simultaneously at different places, different record labels and different companies. So also St. John's provided me with a community that, is around me every single day anyway. Like I work with Nyla every single day for the most part with Amazon. My brother Ramel, he's at Republic. I work with him all the time. Diamond's at iHeart. So there's a lot of people who went to St. John's who work in the industry now who are my connections and who are my friends.
Okay.
So, but that's, again, that little era of St. John's is very rare that there's that many people in one place and one time that go to school together that all grow up to be as successful as we became. Not saying it won't happen again, but it's like 10 people all from St. John's in the same 3-year period, all work in the music industry and having the type of motion that we have. Like that's like, that's rare, but I'm blessed that that we were able to make that experience happen together. And I do tell, and like I said, I tell kids all the time, like, just go to school, and if you go to the right school with the right interest for you, then you definitely are gonna make the connections you're
Gotcha.
gonna need
Yeah.
to go further in life.
I know you started OTR in 2018.
Yeah.
What sparked up that concept for you? Did you like automatically was like, yo, I'm gonna do this show, we're gonna do freestyles, interview, or like how did that get sparked up?
Well, I think like the concept for it was just like there wasn't anybody else young doing it. Like I felt like I would see a lot of podcasts of artists my age back then doing interviews and them not being understood. Like, you know, I think about like the Joe Budden Little Yachty one where Joe didn't fully understand Yachty, but obviously he understands Yachty now. But back then there was obviously a lot of, you know,
Like a disconnect.
like a disconnect, right? Which
Okay.
you can't blame people for at the end of the day because the music isn't made for someone like Joe back then, right? But I felt like there needed to be younger voices in media that could be like kind of there for those artists who understood what they go through, because I think Yachty and I are only a year apart. So
Okay.
just using Yachty as an example, right? Like what Yachty was into as a kid is probably a lot of stuff that I was into as a kid.
Okay.
So there's like that little simultaneous, like, or not similarities there where it's like, okay, like Yachty liked Paramore growing up. I like Paramore growing up, which influences our music taste now and even the music that he would make. Not saying Paramore is who he based, but as an example.
Right.
And I was like, there's nobody young doing it, and there's not a lot of people in this space. So I was like, let me just start building this platform. And the freestyles, like they kind of came along early, but they were never consistent. Like we would do them, but it would be like real ghetto. It would be like a laptop, the headphones plugged in with the beat pulled up, but like the beat would be all the way turned up so I could hear the beat playing on the cameras in
Okay.
post, so I could line the beat up. So we wouldn't really do them too much because every time we try to do them, it would be like a hassle, or the rapper would say they'd be rapping off beat or something like that, and we would really try to line it up as best as we could, but it just wouldn't work. So yeah, that's how it
So
started.
when did you start, I guess, being more consistent with the freestyles then?
When everything opened up after the pandemic, and
Okay.
I found HMD Studios, which is closed now, which is where where it's all the old On the Radars are shot at, like D-Thang, like that spot's closed, but that's where I found that spot. And that spot, they kind of gave me, like, I used to rent it out by the hour, so they gave me, like, the free range to kind of rent it out. I think I used to rent it out, like, 15 days a week.
Oh,
Like, I'd be
wow.
dropping $1,500 there every week to shoot On the Radar content. And I would just rent it out, do freestyles every single day with interviews, and then we just put it out, right?
Right.
And we would try to do at least, like, 15 a week,
Okay.
which is
Okay.
crazy. Now we do more than that sometimes. We've done, like, 20 in a week before, so.
Yeah, no, I know that, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, because I feel like when you're starting up like your brand, right? I feel like obviously it's a learning curve in a sense, not a learning curve. It's a learning experience where you're trying to understand your niche in a sense, right? So like you said, you wasn't so consistent with your freestyles, but like I want to know then. What was some of the challenges you were faced with when it came to building On the Radar? Because again, you started in 2018, then pandemic hit 2 years later. I'm sure that was a big fucking like
Right.
challenge. Like,
Right.
so what were some of like the biggest impactful challenges that you dealt with and you overcame?
I think the pandemic helped me a lot, honestly. Like, I think, like, with the pandemic, well, one of the biggest challenges is being said no to early on, right?
Okay.
Nobody says no to me anymore at this point.
I'm
right?
sure.
But, like, that just goes to show you really just got to keep working past those no's till everybody starts saying yes.
Right.
That's one thing, right? Those no's are going to turn to yeses eventually, but if you give up because, like, 20 people told you no, then you're never going to get to the point where all those people can start telling you yes. The other point with the pandemic was what the pandemic did for me that was great, and like I hated Zoom interviews, but the Zoom interviews were like the best way for me to network with people.
Okay.
Right? So like I would do like maybe somewhere from 5 to 8 to 10 Zoom interviews a week, like just stack them up back to back to back to back to back. And I would just use that as ways to meet different PRs, because like everybody needed promo for their artists during the pandemic.
Right.
So they needed anything and everything that they can do, and I was anything and everything, right? So I would just stack up all these different like kind of interviews and things like that with people, and then I would go out. I would do these interviews, and then like one of their friends would see that I interviewed them, so then I'd interview that person.
Okay.
And a lot of these connections, like a lot of the PR people's, like Audible Treats, Macez Malo, and a ton of other people, like I still work with to this day with bigger artists now because we built up this relationship through the pandemic together. So I think that, you know, me doing all these Zoom interviews during the pandemic, however many, I don't know if I did 100, if I did more than that, but like I did Stunna Gambino early on during the pandemic. I'm trying to think what other bigger artists I did on Zoom during the pandemic. Me and Coi Leray had like an hour-long interview during the pandemic, but me and Coi had known each other from Rolling Loud before the
Okay.
pandemic. So it really was like a way for me to check in on people, but also build new relationships with people. And a lot of the
Gotcha.
people who were on the show during the pandemic on the Zoom calls, like they came to do freestyles. Like London Hill came to do one, Zero McKenzie came to do one. Bia's coming to do one this week.
Right.
I'm trying to think who else. Duke Deuce came and did one when we were in Atlanta. Little Gotti came and did one when we were in Atlanta. So it's like a lot of these people remember me from the Zoom days too. And we were able to keep building those relationships as we grew together. And that's how we were able to kind of get all these things like done down the line too.
Right. You know what's dope, Gabe, is the fact that you mentioned in relationship, right? And you and I both know like maintaining a relationship is super important in this industry. However, I just feel like a lot of people don't understand. Oh, I may be wrong, but I feel like a lot of people are in a space where they're okay with burning bridges, not knowing how to swim.
Right.
So how you feel?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's your intake on that? Because you're saying like, yo, like you got some no's, and certain people like,
Yeah.
I'm sure certain people burn bridges because of either the no's from their end or on your end,
Right.
in a sense. So like, how do you handle situations where someone will burn a bridge or tarnish a relationship?
Well, I mean, there's different versions of that. Like, I think like what happened with McConan recently is a good example, right? Like McConan, like he got posted up a young boy, and then a bunch of artists started hitting his DMs who used to be friends, who he used to work with, and he like felt the way about it, so he posted about it on social media, and then that went viral, right? But to me, that situation right there, he shouldn't have done that because I feel like those are, yes, like they hadn't hit you in a long time or X, Y, and Z because of whatever happened in the past, right? But I think it's like, this music industry is business at the end of the day, right?
Right.
Like, I don't think you should go blasting people because they haven't spoken to you in a couple of years, but like they seen you do well now and they're like, oh, this is cool, right? And yes, they could have reached out to you and helped you at other moments, but like, I don't think you should just block your blessings because you're emotionally upset by
Invested or-
things.
okay.
Emotionally invested or emotionally upset. You're just being emotional over something that, is just business at the end of the day, right? And then I'll use an example from today. Before I came here, somebody called me at Power and they were like, oh, hey, like, I've been emailing you guys like blah, da, 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 like 6-7 times. And I'm like, bro, like, you realize Drake was just on the show, right?
Right.
And I didn't say that in like a condescending way, but in like yo, bro, like, that if Drake's on my show, like a lot of things are happening now.
Right.
So it's like your email, it's not getting lost, but it's just probably not cutting through because we're going around the country right now. Drake was just on the show. We got 200 plus freestyles banked that we have to drop still from New Orleans, LA, Miami. Right. It's like, it's not your artist. It's like, we only can shoot so many people in New York City right now because of X, Y, and Z. But I try to explain it in a nice way where it's like, I don't want to burn a bridge with you because I don't like burning bridges with anybody, especially people who I know. You never know who someone's gonna be, and I forgot who told me that, but you never know who someone's gonna be in the future. So I just try to speak to them in the nicest way. Now, in the relation of artists, right? A lot of times it's not the artist who ruins the relationship; it's the management. Like we've dealt with like a lot of managers in the OTR space where it's like they'll either be disrespectful or they'll say something like this, and like that ruins a relationship with the artist. You know what I'm saying? Be like, because we don't want to work with you no more because your manager said X, Y, and Z to someone on my team, and I don't fuck with that.
Okay.
So it's like there are different variations within the music industry, but
so how you handle the politics towards that?
And what, like, how do I deal with someone if someone's disrespectful?
Yes.
Towards my team? I just be like, look, bro, like, your artist doesn't need to come back.
Okay.
It's just that simple.
Because you know how sometimes some certain people, instead of saying like how like you're for your team and like you disrespected my team, that's it, it's clipped in a sense, right?
Yeah.
But some people just again have that mindset was like, I'm gonna be political and be like, well, maybe like here's certain boundaries.
Well, see, I used to be like that.
Okay.
I definitely used to be like that, but now I feel like you know what it is, you know what my show is, you know who I am. You've seen my work. Again, like you've seen the caliber of artists that we've had on our show and the caliber of artists who we've broken. So I feel like there's no excuse for you to treat us a certain way, especially when it's like at this point, like we're doing that artist a favor by helping them out. Because that's what I want to do. I want to help out artists.
Right.
But it's like, as an upcoming artist, if you're getting upset because your video hasn't come out in a certain period of time because of X, Y, and Z, it's like, well, bro, like just be grateful to be on this platform.
Right.
Like, I feel like that's the thing. Like, people feel like they're owed something or X, Y, and Z when they're not. Like, what did Nick Buck say? I'm trying to think what he said. He said a lot of people feel like they should have your time. What's the word?
Entitled?
They're entitled to your time and they're entitled to be treated a certain way because that's just how they feel. when it's not true. You know what I'm saying? Like, I try to treat every artist fairly on my platform. But again, if someone like Drake comes on the show and pushes everything back 3 weeks,
Right.
are you really going to be upset? You know what I'm saying? Like, how can you really be upset about something like that? Because now we have 100,000 more subscribers and 50,000 more Instagram followers that are now going to see your video.
Right.
You know? So it's like a give and take with that. Like, you know, you try to be political, you try to move correctly with the artist, but at the end of the day, like, you can't savor every relationship because people's egos get in the way, people's emotions get in the way, and then you just got to learn to navigate that.
No, and it could be very tricky. Like, for example, like I remember when you had posted the was it Sexy Red?
Yeah.
And it was like, so it's like when you posted that, right? Like, not even those that were on your platform, but those that been trying to get on your platform, right? And it was just like I saw
the comments.
I saw comments, bro, and it was just like, and then for me it was just like I see what you're doing. Listen, I work with you, so I see what you're doing. You do everything in your power to connect with people, to be humble, be like, yeah, here, etc. Like, you know, and when I saw when you had posted that, it was just in a space where it's like, oh, you know, either you're chasing clout, you're a culture, or you're not for the culture. And it's like, how, you know, like, I guess for me, I wanted to know is when you saw that, how was your thought? Like, what was your thought span for all of that at first? Because I'm like, I know you've done a lot.
Sexy Red is doing arena tours. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's a very simple answer. Sexy Red is doing arena tours, and
so I guess the people want to know though, like, why is it that she was there? And I get it, this business, but why is she there? And I'm like, not me per se, obviously, but like certain people was just like, well, I got the talent.
Right. I understand that, right? And I get it, but it's like, it's either, put it this way, right? When I bring artists onto my show, it has to make sense. Right.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, I'm trying to build a brand. I'm trying to build the biggest music brand in the world.
Right.
Right. So someone like Sexy Red makes sense at that time. Pound Town, blowing up.
Right.
One of the biggest records in the club. Any of those people who in those comments, they definitely go outside. They go to the club. They got to hear Pound Town. Right. Not saying that they don't deserve to be on the platform. It's just not their time yet. They haven't been put on my radar. And then we still get plenty of chances to upcoming artists. Like, I can't help it. At the end of the day, I can't help everybody.
Right.
I can only help so many people. And at the end of the day, I run a business. And my business has to grow. So, like, if I only did small upcoming artists on my platform, right, which is how we started. But if we keep growing, we can't just stick to that formula, because that formula doesn't work and it doesn't help us get the Drakes, or it doesn't help us get the Yachties. You know what I'm saying? There has to be a balance.
Right.
And On the Radar does have that balance right now. Like, we have, like, if you look at the page, like, after everything came out with Drake and Sleepy Hollow, like, we've had a lot of upcoming artists on that page who don't have a lot of followers, right? But have a motion and they deserve to get that spotlight. It's just about that. It's just about the time coming. Because it's like, look, 1,000,001 people want to come on the platform. I can't shoot 1,000,001 videos in a year.
Right.
It's just that simple. And to the people who are like, oh, Sexy Red is this, Sexy Red is that, I bet you if they're a man and they got a girl, their girl listens to Sexy Red. Or they've caught themselves at the club singing Ski at some point. Because everybody online is a hypocrite.
Right.
Like, you say something's trash, and then, but now you go outside and that's your favorite thing, right? It's not cool until it's cool. Like, people used to say, like, I remember when I did, like, Cash Cobain and them back in the day, people were like, oh, what's this? What's this sound? Like, what's this, like, weird, sexy drill sound? Now look at Cash Cobain.
Right.
Now look at Chow Lee. Chow Lee's doing Rolling Louds in Portugal.
Shit.
And all the people talking shit about him, where are they?
Right.
Still probably here in New York or wherever they're from, not doing Rolling Louds in Portugal. Cash Cobain has features from Lil Yachty and produces for Lil Yachty. And who he produced for Lil Yachty, Lucky. I'm trying to think. Cash, I'm sorry if you watch this. I'm trying to remember everybody Pink Pantress.
Okay.
Etc. Ice Spice. Ice Spice first dropped. Yo, this is trash. I'm a better rapper than her. Why is she on here and not me? Look at Ice Spice now. Literally the biggest female in hip hop at this moment in time. New female in hip hop. Just gonna say that because people will get upset about that. The princess of hip hop, whatever you want to say. But like,
yeah.
But like example then too. I remember when Ice Spice came out and people was hating on me for putting her on the show. They're like, oh, she's trash. Why would you put her on here? Why would you put her on here? Why would you put her on here? It's like, because I saw the vision.
Okay.
I saw the vision for her. And then less than 6 months later, she got the DM from Drake about munching the On the Radar freestyle. Then another 6 months later, she has songs with Taylor Swift and Nicki Minaj. You know what I'm saying? So when I see shit like that, bro, I just look past it. Cause I know what my vision is for On the Radar. I know what I'm doing at all
Right.
times. And 90% of the time, if I'm trolling, I'm doing it on purpose. And I'm doing it because I know I'm gonna get your attention for it.
Gotcha.
And Sexy Red wasn't a troll at all. Sexy Red was like, Pound Town came out and I'm like, yo, this girl is on fire.
Right.
Like she brings this real raunchy energy to hip hop that's like, I feel like we need, right? Like, cause there's raunchy energy in the females of hip hop, but not like her.
Okay.
And if you look at Sexy Red, she's so truly and authentically herself, 24/7. Like she's been out since the beginning of this year, since January when Pound Town came out. That's when she started blowing up, but she's been around for years. But if you look at it from then to now, she's still the same person. She's still acting the same way. She has not changed. I saw her back. We had her come back on the show in Miami. She did Ski. It's not out yet, but she came back and she still treated us the exact same way. So that's why when people talk shit about her or people be like, X, Y, and Z, I'd be like, look, man, like, this girl's incredible. She's doing amazing things. She has a Nicki Minaj feature too. In 8 months. You can't quantify that level of success, right? But I say that to say that, like, again, On the Radar still helps independent artists. It's just people just don't pay attention to that because people always want to see the negative instead of the positive.
Right.
I could post Sexy Red and then I could post the hottest dude out of Harlem who isn't like a drill rapper. He's like a rapper.
Yeah,
you know what
yeah.
I'm saying? He could be doing the best freestyle over a Dipset beat, but Sexy Red's gonna get more comments than him, not because she's more popular, because she's easier to hate on.
Okay.
People only want to support things online. People only want to comment on things online when it's negative, not when it's positive. You know?
At what point would you say you started learning to, I guess, not have the emotions and have more of the business mindset?
I guess when you see like when the views are going up and you just kind of like, and people are talking shit, it's like, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Like people know what On the Radar is.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I just look at it as like, look, I know who I'm picking in this game to come on my show, and I know which ones make sense and which ones are gonna blow up. And I'm not gonna let other people dictate or tell me how to run my platform and how to be like this. Like I think I saw one comment under the Sexy Red post that was like, oh, this platform is for the towns, You're supposed to support people from New York City. I've been supporting people from New York City.
Right.
I've always supported people from New York City.
Do you feel like New York City supports you?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like
Okay.
New York City supports me 1,000%. But I also refuse to let myself get stuck in the New York City mindset of that
Okay.
there's only New York City.
Gotcha.
You know, because like if I let myself get into that mindset, I wouldn't have been able to do the Ladies Night Cypher that I did in Atlanta.
Right.
Or I wouldn't have been able to do the West Coast Cypher, which isn't, again, might be out by the time y'all see this, I don't know. Or the West Coast Cypher I did in LA, or the Florida Cypher with all the boys down in Miami. Or I wouldn't be able to, call up Sleazy World Go, who's from Kansas, or Rob 49, who's from New Orleans, just because I work with them and we have a working relationship. New York will really try to keep you in this box and make you think that all that exists is New York. And a lot of the comments on that video reflected that too. I'm like, yo,
Right.
you guys are so small-minded. Like, there's so much to this world and to this music game than just New York, but people like to just keep it like, yo, I gotta be the hottest in New York, or oh, New York thinks that they have an ownership on everything that
Gotcha.
comes out of New York too,
Okay.
right? And again, at the end of the day, On the Radar, the heart is in New York, and we're always gonna support New York artists, and we're always gonna be here for the towns. But my goals and my visions for this show
It's bigger than New York.
is so much bigger than New York. We have a presence in Africa. Like, I've had a bunch of Afrobeat artists come on the show, and one of my biggest freestyles is from a South African artist, Nasty C, and he's performing that freestyles in festivals in Cape Town with my voice on the intro still.
Oh, wow.
My voice is being played in Africa
Okay.
at festivals by him.
Wow.
And I have a whole fan base over there. Like, I was at the BET Awards, when we did the partnership with them. I had one of the best. He was nominated as one of the best new international acts at the BET Awards. He comes up to me, he's like, yo, bro, he's like, I see a lot of artists from Ghana coming on your show. He's like, how can I get on the show? That's an artist who, I don't know if it's his first time in America, I don't know, but clearly doesn't come here all that much.
Mm-hmm.
Recognized my logo, recognized me from Ghana, said, you put on for Ghana, how can I be on your show? And it's moments like that when I'm like, yo, this shit is so much bigger than New York. This shit is so much bigger than me. Like, you can't quantify this level of reach. Like, another example I'll give you is shout out this girl BB Trick. She's like a Spaniard rapper, right? She
Okay.
she blew up a couple months ago, kind of doing like they call it like the Spaniard Ice Spice online.
Okay.
But she's tough. She's fire. And she was supposed to come on the show when she was out here. Didn't get to happen because you know, some traveling issues. But like they told me that they watch my show all the time in Spain.
Oh wow. Okay. So
You know
what's
what
your
I'm saying?
end goal with OTR?
Biggest music platform in the world.
And you started? Did you start already? I know you were speaking about doing a label.
Yeah, we got On the Radar record. On the Radar records already exist. We have about 130 songs out now, like
Okay.
freestyles, original records. I got a tape coming out soon with Matthew Ali and some of like the, you know, the sexy drill people, Charlie and
Okay.
all them. Hopefully by the time this comes out again, we got a new single coming out called Sexy Bestie.
Okay.
With Charlie, Vontae the singer, and Matthew Ali. And I got a lot of singles with like New York artists. So it's like that's why when I'm like, okay, y'all can never say I don't support New York artists because like I'm literally doing music with
Right.
New York artists. I got a 3-pack with 917 Racks coming out too.
Okay.
That's with me and my producers. So we got a lot of stuff like that. But obviously on like the grander scale of On the Radar, like right now we're doing like the little tours around the country, going to different cities. We're about to start dropping all of our freestyles from New Orleans, Miami, LA. But then we're also, you know, we're hitting some other cities in America. And then next year, that's when it really is gonna get spooky because that's when we're gonna start doing the Canada run.
Okay.
So we're gonna do Montreal, Vancouver, and Toronto, and then after that we're gonna do London, and then
Okay.
eventually we're trying to do Ghana, Nigeria, Paris, somewhere in Spain. I don't know which city to go to yet. Somewhere in Italy, don't know which city I'm gonna go to yet. We want to do Jamaica, we want to do Puerto Rico, DR. Like we really trying to expand to the world. Like I don't want people to get it in their head that it's like. It's just a New York City platform.
Okay.
We always go have New York City artists on the platform, but it's so much bigger than that.
So when you're saying it needs to make sense as far so for an artist, because that was one of the questions I had asked, right? Like for you, and they was just like, what is it? Well, I guess in my terms is making sense in what way?
Like it has to be the right time for the artist and for us. And I've done it plenty of times where I've been like, look, bro, I'm telling you right now, this freestyle ain't going or this video ain't gonna do what you think it's gonna do. For
Right.
you.
No, and I remember having
Yeah, we spoke
consultations
about
with
this,
like
yeah.
so like for those that don't know, he does consultations.
Yeah.
I've seen you even say that. So I was like, it's not your time. And then you even check out their work and like their branding and their marketing. It's like all over the place, you
Yeah.
know? So I guess that's and that way when you're saying timing as far as like you need to build your brand.
You need to build your brand. You gotta have motion. You gotta be known, you know? And I do give like, you know, some smaller, more, quote unquote, unknown-ish artist chances. After they beg me to, right? Like
Okay.
sometimes I'll be like, all right, cool. Like I fuck with you on a personal level. So we'll make this work, right? But then when it doesn't work out the way that they want it to work out and they don't get the views that they're like, yo, Gabe, why this ain't work?
Right.
Because it wasn't your time, my boy, and I try to tell you, but you don't want to listen to me. And then they're like, yo, I should have listened. I should have waited. And I'm like, look, man, we could try this again in the future, but it is what it is. Because only, for real, there's only that 1 in a million person where, like, in that area of artists that is going to blow up and is going to do something for them, you know? And it doesn't really happen all that often. Like, I wouldn't even say it about this person, but, like, I think when I brought Veli Vels onto the show, Veli Vels did one of the first freestyles in that spot too.
Okay.
So shout out Veli, free Veli. And when he came back, I'm like, you know, bro, you ain't really got a lot of music out. Like, I don't know if this makes sense right now.
Right.
But like, I fuck with Veli, so I was like, you know what? Let's do it. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Because he's hard. He's a hard rapper, and I'm like, I fuck with you. I want to help you, right? To someone else, they might be like, why would you put him on the show at that moment? But I saw it. Like, I'm like, it makes sense. Like, we're gonna make it make sense for you. He came and did his freestyle, and then he got locked up, I think, a couple days before the freestyle dropped. But that freestyle did 1.3 million views.
Shit. Okay.
But again, like, I would say Veli Vels is like that one. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Out of a million, like, he was that one where it worked out. You know? And that, again, you can't say that for everybody.
Gotcha. Have you during this process, have you been in a place where you felt like, especially like towards the beginning, like did you ever feel like you was in a space of like not in doubt, but more in a space of like I'm not sure if I want to continue this, or this isn't my path, like
Right.
you know, like how and if so, how did you overcome that?
Well, that's like imposter syndrome. I feel that all the time.
Okay.
Like, not saying that all the time. I'm like, I want to quit. I want to give up on this. But it's like, you know, you feel like you're not doing enough. You know what I'm saying? Like, even after the Drake stuff, like, I got imposter syndrome. But that's also just my hunger, you know?
Okay.
Like, I want more.
So what was it after the Drake? What was it exactly you was thinking about?
It's just like, once it all settles down and it cools down, you're like, all right, cool. I got to do something new next. Like, what's next for me, And I think that's part of that imposter syndrome that's like, you've never done it. You're not doing enough.
Gotcha.
Even though I have done enough. And I know I've done enough, but it's also,
Do you celebrate your wins?
momentarily.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a momentary celebrator. Like, I'll celebrate for like that moment.
Okay.
And then I'm like, all right, cool. Great.
Okay, and what's next?
Yeah, what's next? Like, now I'm like, all right, we already did that. It's accomplished. I'm done. Check, box checked. Now where do we go from here?
Right.
But like I try to do a better job of celebrating my wins now. But I will say, like, there were plenty of times where I was like, man, maybe I should quit this. During the pandemic, I was like, damn, how do I keep going? But as cliche as it sounds, you really just got to keep pushing.
Right.
Because there is going to be like a little moment, and I tell everybody this, that everybody gets like a little shot. You don't know when that shot is. I don't even know when my shot really was for On the Radar to blow up and go past. Maybe it was D-Thang. Maybe it was maybe it was Shy K. I don't know. I don't know when that shot was. I don't know which one it was meant to be. But there is like a little moment where you're given that door that's going to open and it's going to change your life, and you just got to walk. You just got to be able to walk through it at that moment. But the thing is, at the same time, you never know when that door is going to open or it's going to appear in front of you. Gotcha. You just got to like ride out the wave, and you just got to keep working for it.
Gotcha. Having Drake on the show, how was that? Like, because you said you didn't tell anybody. Was it a spur of the moment type of thing? Like, how did that happen?
We had known for a little bit that it was going to happen.
Okay.
Without like giving it all away, but we knew it was going to happen. For maybe like, I guess like 2 weeks maybe beforehand. Okay. But it was good, man. Like he's real humble. He was really dope in the studios. It was great to work with them on getting that freestyle out. And honestly, like, that was always, when I started doing the freestyles back in 2021 in person again, that was something that me and my producer had spoken about doing. Like, we're like, we want to get Drake on the show one day. So again, it was like one of those, like, we checked that box. Right. And now there's a song that's going to be on the Billboard 200 or Hot 100 that's going to say On the Radar on it, which is tough.
That's dope.
Yeah.
That's dope. So who's next that you have on the list?
That I want?
Yes.
I want Nicki next. It was like, I want Nicki. Everybody keeps coming around me and being like, watch, bro, Hov's going to do it one day. Hov's going to do it one day. And if Hov does it one day, great. I can't wait.
Right.
But, I feel like Hov is kind of like, it's like there's Jesus and there's God.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like if Drake is Jesus and Hov is God. And I hope that I can get Hov one day. But like I guess in a more realistic sense, it's like, we want Nicki, we want Wayne. Both of them have shown love to On the Radar throughout their career, so I think that would be beautiful to make happen. I want Cardi B. I want J. Cole.
Okay.
A$AP Rocky. Who else? Who else is kind of on my list? Look, if we, I know it's a long shot, but look, if we could do Kendrick Lamar one day,
that'd be dope.
I would love that. And then I don't know, something with SZA. I don't know what we do. Maybe have her do a live performance or whatever, but I would love to do something with like SZA, and then I'm trying to think on like a more global sense too, who I really want to do something with.
Yeah, because you're trying to be global at this.
Yeah, on a more global sense, we want to Burna Boy freestyle.
Okay.
We honestly, we were supposed to do a Shensia freestyle, but I was out of town.
Okay.
We were actually away. I think it was when we were in LA. Okay. Shensia was here, and they were trying to do a freestyle for Shensia. But that'll come back around.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying? Like I'm big on like it's gonna happen eventually. It's just, when it's meant to happen, it's gonna happen. But like from a global standpoint, like we want to do Shensia, we want to do Burna Boy, Wizkid. Like Burna Boy's probably more of a freestyle than Wizkid and Davido, but definitely Burna Boy down the line. I want Burna for sure.
Let me ask you this, Gabe. Let me say that again. Let me ask you this, Gabe. Yeah. Because obviously there's been the talks, obviously with the whole 50th anniversary of hip hop. Just like everything, like you said, with the internet being, it's positive and yet negative, right? So how do you feel about the whole concept of people saying hip hop is losing its dominance?
I think we haven't had did we have a number one hit this year? No. Yeah, we haven't had a number one hit this year, but I mean that's like everything gets its highs and lows. I'm not saying hip hop isn't in a space right now where it's not dominating. I think hip hop is like at the best place it's ever been, in my opinion. Like there's so many different lanes of hip hop. It's just that I think a lot of people only see one side of things and they don't know how to open their eyes to more. Like people might only see drill music on their Twitter feed, but like there's incredible like rappers out there who are doing amazing things. Or there's a lot of incredible melodic artists who are still killing it out here. I think it's just when people say hip hop is dying, I feel like that's a very narrow or small-minded way of thinking, because like if you look at just like last week, like Bia dropped her project. Who else dropped their project? Bia dropped her project. Kel's dropped his project. Lil TJ's project is out. Wolfface Joey, DC the Don, like, and all these artists who I'm naming are all very different from each other. Bia dropped her shit. I think I said that already. Like, there's so much different and variation within hip hop right now that I think it's like you're doing it a disservice by saying that it's dying, and you're not helping it either. You're hurting it honestly by saying that, because it's like, yo, like just do your research, find some artists that you like, and gravitate towards those artists. Yo, if you like Reason from the West Coast, because he kind of does like that, real introspective rap.
Right.
Cool. Fuck with Reason. Like Reason's fire. Reason's dope. If you like sexy drill and you want to go listen to some, some drill music for the ladies, Chowley and Cash Cobain, Lonnie Love, Vontae the singer, they all right there. Go fuck with them. If you want some like drill music, K-Flock, D-Thang, they've been had their catalogs out. Go listen to some old King Von, or you know what I'm saying? Like you go listen to, like whatever you like, there's something there for you.
So I see what you're saying. Because we're both in the, especially like, we're in the scene, right? Like, so
Yeah.
I definitely see what you're saying, because me personally, there's a lot of dope, talented artists outside of like your region, right? Outside from where you're at, whoever it is, right? I just feel like when people hear hip hop, they're assuming, or they want to automatically just make it rap. You understand?
Yeah.
So I feel like that's why they're saying that's why the conversation of saying like hip hop is losing its dominance. I definitely do know that there are a lot of dope artists out there. It's just the factor of, again, stepping out of your comfort zone, being more open-minded, allowing other different sounds in.
Or just go stream your fucking favorite artist. Like stop complaining about what the next man is listening to, and go worry about the artists that you like.
Right.
Because you're spending all this time complaining about, artists you don't like, instead of going and streaming the artists that you do like. Or go comment on their shit. Go comment on your favorite artist shit, because you're too busy commenting hate on somebody else's thing, getting their comment section up, getting their engagement up. Go comment on your favorite artist stuff.
I get what you're saying.
No,
and I definitely do. I think the only thing that I would just say is just, I think the context right now is hindering a little bit. But other than that, I'm like, there's so many different types of artists. For me, I'm just like, I would love to have, and there are artists, again, it's just, I think they're just they're comparing the popularity with those who are not popular, if that makes sense.
yeah, it's like a popularity contest.
Right. So, but, to each his own with when it comes to that conversation. Lastly, I want to know, when was the last time you did something for the first time?
Oh man, what the fuck? That's a great question. When was the last time I did something for the first time?
Yes.
It's gonna take me a minute. I'm trying to think. What did I do for the first time? Most recently, I guess I drove. It's gonna sound funny, but I drove my dream car for the first time.
What was that?
Camaro.
Oh, word? How was that?
I loved it.
Yeah?
Nah, I can't get it though.
Nah, why you can't get
I
it?
can't get it because my team hates two-door cars. They get in the back. They be like, when we was in Atlanta recently, because like a Camaro, I've been using my traveling as a way to test drive all the cars that I want to buy.
Okay.
So I've been driven the Chargers and the Hellcats already. I've been done that for years. But like I drove a Mustang, which I hated. That was a horrible experience.
Okay.
I driven the Challenger, which was cool. Not really my thing though. And then the Camaro, which I fucking loved. I love that fucking car. But the problem is I got the two-door shit. So
Right,
every time I try to put my team in the back, they get mad. They'd be like, you don't fucking stop getting this two-door car. So I'm like, all right, this is gonna translate to New York. So you know what I'm saying? So I mean, I gotta get like a truck or some shit. But yeah, nah. That was like the first time I drove it when I was in Atlanta this past week. And honestly, it was such a fun experience. Like I felt like a little kid inside that car. I was like, damn, man, like I've always wanted to drive one of these, and I finally got to drive it. But I will not be buying a Camaro. So unfortunately, that won't be happening. But that was like the first time I did something for the first time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I want to say shout out to you. Shout out to everything you're
Thank you,
doing.
sis.
For those that are watching, where can they find you? I got stuff right there.
I got you.
Where can people find you and all that good shit?
Yep, it's Mr. On the Radar Radio, Mr. Step In, Step Out. Don't get stepped on. You can find me at Gabe P NYC on everything, at On the Radar Radio on everything. Shout out my sis V-Henny, you know what I'm saying? She doing this. She retired from showcasing, so make sure you go show her some love. Go tap in, go subscribe, go follow her. You already know love is free, support is free. It's Gabe P NYC.
And I appreciate that. And there's no reason why you shouldn't be following him. Again, all his information will be in the description box below. All you got to do is click on it, show love. Again, your girl V-Henny, the Artistry, and we're out. Rock out with your cocks out, jam out with your clam out. Bow.